The Velthrin trading station hung in the cold darkness of space like a metal flower. It was huge, bigger than most cities on Earth. Ships came and went every hour, carrying goods from 100 different worlds. The station was always busy, always loud, and always full of aliens who looked at humans like they were small, weak creatures. Do-Yoon wiped the sweat from his forehead and pushed another heavy crate onto the transport platform. His muscles burned. He had been working for 12 hours without a real break. But he did not complain. He never complained. That was not his way. He was 28 years old, with black hair cut short and eyes that seemed to look through people rather than at them. He was not tall by human standards, and compared to most aliens on the station, he looked almost like a child. The Velthrin stood over 2 meters high with silver skin and long limbs. The Goraths were even bigger, with thick bodies covered in scales and claws that could tear through metal. Humans had only been part of the galactic community for 50 years. In that time, they had earned a reputation. Not as warriors, not as scientists. They were known as workers, cheap labor, bodies that could be used and replaced easily. Do-Yoon knew this. Every human on the station knew this. But knowing something and accepting it were two different things. Human, move faster. A Velthrin supervisor shouted from across the cargo bay. His name was Torvax, and he enjoyed making Do-Yoon's life difficult. We have 3 more shipments coming in. If you cannot handle the work, I will find someone who can. Do-Yoon said nothing. He just grabbed another crate and lifted it. The weight was heavy, but he had carried heavier. He had done harder work. On Earth, before he came to the stars, he had worked in construction during the day and trained in fighting at night. His father had taught him. His grandfather had taught his father. It was a family tradition that went back generations. But here, none of that mattered. Here, he was just another human. Just another pair of hands. You should rest, a soft voice said from behind him. Do-Yoon turned and saw Lyra standing there. She was Velthrin, but she was different from the others. Her silver skin was lighter, almost white, and her eyes were a deep purple color that seemed to change in the light. She worked in the station's medical bay, but she often came to the cargo area during her breaks. I am fine, Do-Yoon said. You have been working all day. Even Velthrins take breaks. I need the credits. Lyra tilted her head. It was a gesture her people made when they were confused or curious. You always need credits. What are you saving for? Do-Yoon paused. He looked at her for a moment, then went back to his work. A ship, he said simply. One day, I want my own ship. Then I can go wherever I want. Do whatever I want. Lyra watched him lift another crate. She had seen many humans on the station. Most of them were broken in some way. The galaxy was not kind to their species. But this one was different. There was something in his eyes that refused to die. A fire that kept burning no matter how much water was thrown on it. That is a big dream for a cargo worker, she said. Big dreams are the only ones worth having. Before Lyra could respond, a loud noise filled the cargo bay. It was the sound of drums. Deep, heavy drums that made the floor shake. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked toward the main entrance. A group of aliens walked in. They were Korath, a species known for their love of fighting and gambling. They wore expensive clothes and carried themselves like they owned the station. In the middle of the group was a large male with golden scales and a scar across his face. His name was Draven, and he was one of the richest merchants in this sector of space. Behind Draven, 2 guards dragged the small figure. It was a young alien, barely more than a child. He belonged to a species called the Mira, known for their big eyes and gentle nature. The young Mira was crying, his thin body shaking with fear. What is happening? Lyra asked, her voice tight with worry. Do-Yoon's eyes narrowed. He had seen this before. The Korath loved to make examples of those who owed them money. And the best way to make an example was through blood. Draven raised his hand, and the drum stopped. His voice boomed across the cargo bay. "Citizens of the station, today we have entertainment. This creature owes me a debt he cannot pay. So he will pay with his life in the arena." The crowd murmured. Some looked excited. Others looked away. No one stepped forward to help. The arena was a fighting pit that existed on every major station. It was legal, barely, and it was where disputes were settled with fists and claws and teeth. If you owed someone money and could not pay, they could drag you into the arena and make you fight. If you won, your debt was cleared. If you lost, well, the debt did not matter anymore because you were dead. The young Mira had no chance. His species was peaceful. They had no claws, no strength, no fighting instinct. He would die in minutes. "Please," the young Mira cried. "I just need more time. I can get the money." "Please," Draven laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. "Time is something you do not have, little one. But do not worry. I will make your death quick. I have a Garth beast waiting in the pit. It is not eaten in 3 days. It will be over before you know it." The crowd shifted nervously. A Garth beast was a monster. A creature bred for war and killing. Even trained fighters avoided them. For a Mira to face one was not a fight. It was an execution. Doyum felt something twist in his stomach. He watched the young alien cry and beg, and he thought about his own life. He thought about all the times he had been pushed down, stepped on, treated like nothing. He thought about his father's words, spoken so many years ago on a warm summer night. A real man does not fight for himself. He fights for those who cannot fight. Dahim put down the crate he was holding. "What are you doing?" Lyra asked, her purple eyes wide. He did not answer. He walked forward, pushing through the crowd until he stood in front of Draven. The Korath merchant looked down at him with amusement, like a giant looking at an insect. "What is this?" Draven asked. "A human? Do you wish to say goodbye to this creature before he dies?" "I wish to take his place," Doyun said. His voice was calm, steady. It did not shake at all. The cargo bay went silent. Every alien stared at the small human standing before the massive Korath. Even the young Mira stopped crying, his big eyes filled with confusion. Draven blinked. Then he laughed. The sound echoed through the bay, and soon his guards were laughing too. "You? A human? You wish to fight a Garth beast?" "Yes. Do you understand what you are saying? The beast will tear you apart. Humans are soft, weak. You have no claws, no scales, no natural weapons. I understand." Draven stopped laughing. He leaned down, bringing his scarred face close to Doyun's. "Why would you do this? You do not know this Mira. His debt is not your problem. Why throw away your life for a stranger?" Doyun met his gaze without flinching. "Because someone should." For a long moment, no one spoke. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut. Then Draven smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of a predator who had found new prey. "Very well, human. If you wish to die, I will not stop you. The fight will be in 1 hour. I hope you use that time to make peace with whatever gods your species believes in." He turned and walked away, his guards dragging the confused Mira with them. The young alien looked back at Dohyun with something like hope in his eyes, but also fear. He did not want another person to die for him. The crowd began to scatter, buzzing with excitement. A human fighting a Garth beast. It would be a slaughter, but it would be entertaining. Already bets were being placed. The odds against Doyen were 1,000 to 1. Lyra rushed to his side. Her silver hands grabbed his arm, and he could feel them trembling. "Are you insane? You cannot do this." You will die. Maybe, Do-hyun said. Then why? Why would you do something so foolish? He looked at her. For a moment, his cold eyes softened just a little. Because if I walk away, I would not be able to live with myself. Death is not the worst thing that can happen to a person. Losing who you are is worse. Lyra stared at him. She had lived for over 100 years. She had seen countless species, countless individuals, come and go through this station. But she had never met anyone like this human. He was small. He was weak by galactic standards. But there was something inside him that was bigger than his body. Something that burned brighter than any star. You are either very brave or very stupid, she said softly. Do-hyun smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. My father always said those are the same thing. He gently removed her hands from his arm and walked toward the arena level. The crowd parted for him, watching him go with a mix of pity and curiosity. Lyra stood alone in the cargo bay, her heart pounding in her chest. She did not understand why she felt this way. She barely knew this human. They had only spoken a few times. But something about him made her want to follow. Made her want to see what would happen next. So she did. She followed him toward the arena, along with hundreds of other aliens who wanted to watch a human die. But deep in her heart, a small voice whispered something she did not expect. It whispered that maybe, just maybe, they were all about to see something extraordinary. The arena was located on the lower levels of the station, in a part that most respectable aliens avoided. The walls were dark metal, stained with old blood that no one had bothered to clean. The air smelled like sweat and fear and something else. Something that made Lyra's stomach turn. She found a spot in the viewing gallery, high above the fighting pit. The seats were already filling up. Aliens of every species pushed and shoved to get a better view. They were excited. They were hungry for violence. And they all wanted to see the stupid human get torn apart by a beast down in the pit. The ground was covered with sand. It was there to absorb the blood. The pit was circular, about 30 meters across, with walls too high and smooth to climb. Once you were inside, there was only one way out. You either walked through the gate as a winner, or you were carried out in pieces. Do-hyun stood in a small room beneath the arena. It was called the preparation chamber, but there was not much to prepare. He had no armor, no weapons, just his work clothes and his 2 hands. An old alien entered the room. He was a Velfrin, but his silver skin had faded to gray with age. His name was Corum, and he had been the arena master for over 60 years. He had seen thousands of fights, thousands of deaths. Nothing surprised him anymore. Until now. You are the human? Corum asked, looking Do-hyun up and down. Yes, the one who volunteered to fight a Gorath beast for a Mira you do not even know? Yes, Corum shook his head slowly. I have seen many things in my life, human. I have seen warriors face death with courage. I have seen cowards beg for mercy. But I have never seen anyone do what you are doing. You have no reason to be here. I have my reasons. Care to share them with an old man? Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Where I come from, there is a saying. The measure of a person is not how they treat those who can help them. It is how they treat those who cannot. Corum studied him. There was something in the human's eyes, a depth that did not match his young face. This was not a man who acted without thinking. This was a man who knew exactly what he was doing and had made peace with the consequences. Very well, Corum said. He walked to a cabinet on the wall and opened it. Inside were weapons of every kind. Swords, axes, spears, energy blades. All of them designed to kill. Choose your weapon. The arena rules allow fighters to use any weapon from this collection. Do-hyun looked at the weapons. They were impressive. Some of them could probably cut through the Gorath beast's scales if used correctly. A smart man would take the biggest, most powerful weapon he could find. No, Do-hyun said. Corum blinked. No? I will not use a weapon. The old arena master stared at him like he had just spoken in a language that did not exist. Human, did you hear me? You are fighting a Gorath beast. Do you know what that is? It is 3 meters tall. It weighs over 500 kilograms. Its claws can cut through ship armor. Its teeth can crush bone like paper. And you want to fight it with your bare hands? Yes. Why? This is not bravery. This is suicide. Do-hyun walked to the center of the room. He began to stretch his muscles, loosening his body for what was to come. My father taught me to fight, he said as he moved. He taught me that weapons are tools. They can help you, but they can also hurt you. If you depend on a weapon, you become weak without it. But if you train your body to be the weapon, you are never unarmed. That is philosophy. This is reality. The beast will kill you. Maybe. But I would rather die fighting my way than live fighting someone else's way. Corum was silent. He had given up trying to understand this human. Some creatures simply could not be saved from themselves. He closed the weapon cabinet and walked to the door. The fight begins in 10 minutes. When you hear the horn, the gate will open. May whatever gods you believe in have mercy on you. He left, and Do-hyun was alone up in the viewing gallery. Lyra watched the crowd grow larger. The news of the fight had spread quickly. A human fighting bare-handed against a Gorath beast. It was the most ridiculous thing anyone had ever heard. And that made it the most exciting thing to happen on the station in years. Next to her, a fat Karath merchant was making bets with his friends. I say the human lasts 30 seconds, he laughed. Maybe less. The beast has not eaten in 3 days. It will swallow him whole. I give him a minute, another said. Humans are fast. He might be able to run for a little while before the beast catches him. They all laughed. Everyone was laughing. Everyone except Lyra. She did not know why she cared. Do-hyun was just a cargo worker. A human. Her species considered humans to be among the lowest forms of intelligent life. They were weak, short-lived, and had no special abilities. They could not see in the dark like Velferans. They could not regenerate limbs like the Cricks. They could not breathe underwater like the Mao. By every measure, humans were ordinary, but Do-hyun was not ordinary. She had seen it in his eyes when he stepped forward to take the mirror's place. There was no fear there, no hesitation, just a quiet determination that seemed to come from somewhere deep inside him. She wanted to understand. She needed to understand. A horn sounded, and the crowd cheered. The fight was about to begin. The main gate of the pit opened, and Do-hyun walked out. He moved slowly, calmly, like he was taking a walk in a garden. The crowd fell silent for a moment, confused by his lack of armor or weapons. Then they started laughing again. Look at him! He's dressed like a worker. Where is his weapon? Did he forget it? This is not a fight. This is a joke. Do-hyun ignored them. He walked to the center of the pit and stood still. His eyes scanned the walls, the sand, the lights above. He was studying the arena, learning its shape and size, finding the places where he could move and the places where he could be trapped. On the other side of the pit, a second gate began to rise. Behind it, something moved in the darkness. Something big. The Gorath beast emerged. It was everything Corum had described and more. 3 meters tall, covered in thick green scales that looked like armor. Its arms were massive, ending in claws the length of swords. Its mouth was filled with teeth, rows upon rows of them, all sharp and yellow. And its eyes were the worst part. They were red and hungry, and filled with a rage that had been building for 3 days without food. The beast saw Do-hyun and roared. The sound shook the arena. Some aliens in the crowd covered their ears. Others cheered louder, excited by the display of power. Do-hyun did not move. He did not flinch. He just stood there, watching the beast like it was something interesting, rather than something terrifying. The beast began to circle him. It was smart enough to study its prey before attacking. Most creatures ran or tried to fight immediately. This one was different. This one was standing still. The beast did not understand it, and that made it cautious. Up in the gallery, Draven watched with growing interest. He had expected the human to be dead by now. Instead, the human was just standing there, and the beast was hesitating. That was unexpected. "What is he doing?" one of Draven's guards asked. "I do not know," Draven admitted. "But it is more interesting than I thought it would be." Lyra leaned forward in her seat. Her purple eyes were fixed on Do-hyun. She noticed something that others might miss. The human was not just standing still. He was breathing in a specific pattern. Deep, slow breaths that seemed to flow through his entire body. His muscles were relaxed, not tense. His hands were open, not clenched into fists. He was not afraid. He was waiting. The beast grew tired of circling. It wanted to eat. It wanted to kill. With another roar, it charged. The ground shook as it ran. Its claws dug into the sand, sending sprays of dirt into the air. Its mouth opened wide, ready to bite the human in half. The crowd held its breath. Do-hyun moved. It was not a big movement. Just a small step to the side. But the timing was perfect. The beast's jaws snapped shut on empty air, missing him by centimeters. Its momentum carried it forward, past Do-hyun, and it stumbled in the sand. The crowd gasped. The beast spun around, confused and angry. It attacked again, swinging its massive arm in a strike that could crush stone. Again, Do-hyun stepped aside. Again, the beast missed. How is he doing that? Someone in the crowd shouted. "He is fast," another answered. "I have never seen a human move like that." Lyra's heart was pounding. She understood now. The human was not trying to fight the beast with strength. He was using something else. Speed, timing, knowledge of how the beast moved. He was not reacting to the attacks. He was predicting them. The beast attacked again and again. Each time, Do-hyun avoided it by the smallest margin possible. He never wasted energy. He never moved more than he needed to. It was like watching a dancer who had practiced the same steps 1,000 times. But Lyra could see the problem. The human was avoiding damage, but he was not dealing any. He was surviving, not winning. And the beast would not get tired. It was built for endurance. Sooner or later, the human would make a mistake, and then it would be over. She wanted to shout at him. Tell him to find a weapon. Tell him to do something different. But she knew he could not hear her, and even if he could, she knew he would not listen. This was his choice, his way, and she could only watch to see if it was enough. In the pit, Do-hyun felt the sweat running down his face. His lungs burned from the constant movement. The beast was faster than he had expected. Stronger, too. Every time it swung its claws, he felt the wind from the strike. One mistake would mean death. But he was learning. With each attack, he understood the beast better. He saw the beast shook its head, trying to clear the pain from Do-hyun's strike. It had never felt pain like this before. Not from something so small. Not from prey that was supposed to be easy to kill. Looked at the human with new eyes. This was not prey. This was something else. The crowd was no longer laughing. They were watching in stunned silence, trying to understand what they had just seen. A human, barehanded, had hurt a Garth beast. It should have been impossible. The beast's side was thick enough to stop bullets. Its body was built to destroy, not to be destroyed. But Do-hyun had found a weakness. The soft tissue beneath the jaw. Every creature had soft spots if you knew where to look. Did you see that? A Velthorn in the crowd whispered. How did he know to hit there? Another asked. No one had an answer. They just kept watching. Dohyun did not celebrate his small victory. He knew the fight was far from over. The beast was hurt, but it was not defeated. And now it was angry. Really angry. The kind of angry that made creatures forget about pain and think only about killing. The beast roared again. This time, the sound was different, deeper, more primal. It was done playing with its food. It was time to end this. It charged with a speed that surprised even Dohyun. He managed to dodge the first swipe, but the second caught him across the chest. The claws did not cut deep thanks to his quick backward movement, but they tore through his shirt and left 3 red lines across his skin. Pain exploded through his body. He felt the warm blood running down his stomach. The crowd cheered. Finally, blood. Finally, the violence they had come to see. Lyra pressed her hands harder against the viewing glass. She wanted to look away, but she could not. She was frozen, watching the human she barely knew fight for his life against a monster. Dohyun stumbled back, putting distance between himself and the beast. His chest burned. The wounds were not deep, but they were bleeding freely. He needed to end this fight soon, or he would grow weak from blood loss. The beast smiled. At least, it looked like a smile. Its yellow teeth spread wide, and a low rumbling came from its throat. It could smell the blood. It could taste victory. It attacked again, both arms swinging in wide arcs that would crush anything they hit. Dohyun ducked under the first swing and rolled to the side to avoid the second. Sand stuck to his bloody chest as he moved across the ground. He came up behind the beast and drove, his fist into the back of its knee. The joint buckled slightly, and the beast stumbled. It spun around, roaring in frustration, but Dohyun was already moving again. This was his only chance. He could not match the beast in strength or endurance. He had to keep moving, keep attacking, keep finding the weak points until the beast could not stand anymore. His father's training came back to him, like water breaking through a dam. Every lesson, every technique, every hour spent practicing until his hands bled and his muscles screamed for rest. It all flowed through him now, guiding his movements like music guiding a dancer. Strike the nerve cluster behind the ear. The beast shook its head, dizzy, hit the pressure point on the inner thigh. The beast's leg gave out for a second. Drive the palm into the soft spot beneath the ribs. The beast coughed, losing its breath. Each strike was precise. Each movement was calculated. Dohyun was not fighting like a human was supposed to fight. He was fighting like something else entirely, something the galaxy had never seen before. The crowd was completely silent now. Even the betting had stopped. Everyone was watching with their mouths open, unable to believe what they were seeing. What is he? Someone finally asked. No one answered, because no one knew. Draven leaned forward in his private viewing box, his golden scales catching the light. His amusement was gone, replaced by something else. Interest. Real interest. In all his years of watching arena fights, he had never seen anything like this. The human was bleeding. He was clearly exhausted. His movements were getting slower, his breaths coming harder. But he refused to fall. He refused to give up. And somehow, impossibly, he was winning. The beast was covered in bruises now. Its movements were sluggish. One of its legs was barely working. It was confused and hurt and angry, and it did not understand how this small creature was causing so much damage. It made one final charge. A desperate, all-or-nothing attack meant to crush the human under its weight. Dohyun saw it coming. He had been waiting for it. When a beast was hurt and confused, it always resorted to its most basic instinct. Charge forward. Crush everything. Hope for the best. He did not dodge this time. Instead, he ran forward, directly at the beast. The crowd gasped. It looked like suicide, but at the last moment, Do-hyun dropped to the ground and slid under the beast's massive body. As he passed beneath it, he reached up and drove both fists into the creature's stomach, targeting a cluster of nerves that his father had taught him about years ago. The beast's legs locked up. Its entire body went rigid. It crashed to the ground like a falling mountain, shaking the arena with the impact. Sand flew everywhere, creating a cloud that blocked the view for several seconds. When the dust settled, the crowd saw something they would never forget. The Garth beast was on the ground, unconscious but alive. Its chest rose and fell slowly as it breathed. And standing above it, covered in blood and sand and sweat, was the human. Do-hyun stood over the fallen beast, his chest heaving as he tried to catch his breath. His wounds burned. His muscles screamed. Every part of his body wanted to collapse. But he stayed standing, because that was what his father had taught him. No matter how much it hurt, you always stayed standing until the fight was truly over. The arena was silent for a long moment. Then someone in the crowd started clapping. Then another. Then another. Soon, the entire arena was filled with applause and cheers. They had come to see a human die. Instead, they had seen something impossible. A human victory. Lyra felt tears running down her face. She did not know when she had started crying. She did not care. All she could see was the human standing in the pit, refusing to fall, refusing to give up, and something inside her changed. It was like a door opening in her mind. A door she had not known existed. Behind it was a feeling she had never experienced before. Not quite admiration. Not quite respect. Something deeper. Something that made her heart beat faster, and her breath catch in her throat. She whispered something so softly that no one else could hear. Not even herself at first. But the words came out anyway, pulled from somewhere deep inside her. I wish he was mine. She did not know what she meant by it. She did not understand the feeling that had created those words. All she knew was that she had never wanted anything more than she wanted to know this human, to understand him, to be near him. Down in the pit, Do-hyun looked up at the crowd. His eyes scanned the viewing galleries, not looking for applause or recognition. He was looking for the young Mira. He wanted to make sure the child knew he was safe. He found the young alien near the front of the gallery, helped by Drayden's guards. The Mira was crying again, but this time the tears were different. They were tears of disbelief, tears of gratitude. He was looking at Do-hyun like the human was something from a dream. The arena master's voice boomed through the speakers. The fight is over. The human is victorious. According to the rules of the arena, the Mira's debt is cleared. He is free to go. The guards released the young alien, and he ran toward the pit entrance, crying Do-hyun's name over and over. The human walked toward the gate, his steps slow and painful. Every movement hurt, but he kept walking, because the fight was over, and he had won. When he reached the gate, the young Mira was there waiting. The child threw his thin arms around Do-hyun's legs and sobbed into his bloody shirt. "Thank you," the Mira cried. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. You saved me. You did not even know me, but you saved me." Do-hyun reached down and gently touched the child's head. "Go home," he said softly. "Find your family. And stay away from people like Draven." "I will. I promise. I will never forget you. Never." The Mira ran off into the crowd, and Do-hyun watched him go. A small smile crossed his face. The pain was worth it. Everything was worth it. Because one life had been saved. One innocent creature would live another day. He turned to leave the arena, but his legs finally gave out. The blood loss had caught up with him. The exhaustion had become too much. He fell to one knee, his vision blurring. "Human!" someone shouted. He felt hands grabbing him, lifting him up. He tried to see who it was, but everything was spinning. All he could see was silver skin and purple eyes, looking down at him with concern. "Stay awake," the voice said. It was soft, familiar. "Stay with me. I am taking you to the medical bay." Lyra. It was Lyra. He tried to say something, but the words would not come. The darkness was pulling him down, away from the pain. Away from everything. The last thing he heard before losing consciousness was her voice, speaking to him like he was the only person in the universe. "You foolish, brave, impossible human. Stay alive. Please, stay alive." And then there was nothing but darkness. But he was learning. With each attack, he understood the beast better. He saw it stowing and opened his eyes slowly. The light above him was soft and white, not like the harsh lights of the cargo bay or the arena. He tried to move, but his body protested. Everything hurt. His chest, his arms, his legs. Even breathing felt like work. He was lying in a medical bed. The room around him was clean and quiet, filled with machines that beeped and hummed softly. Medical bay. He was in the station's medical bay. "You are awake." He turned his head and saw Lyra sitting beside his bed. She looked tired. Her silver skin seemed paler than usual, and there were dark circles under her purple eyes. She had been watching him for a while. "How long?" His voice came out rough and dry. 2 days. "You lost a lot of blood." The wounds from the beast's claws became infected. "For a while, we were not sure you would make it." Dahyun looked down at his body. His chest was wrapped in white bandages. He could see the edges of healing patches peeking out from beneath the cloth. Velthran medicine was advanced. On Earth, injuries like his would have taken weeks to heal. Here, it would only take days. "The mirror boy," he said. "Is he safe?" Lyra stared at him. He had almost died, and his first question was about someone else. "Yes, he left the station yesterday. His family came to get him. He wanted to thank you again, but I told him you needed rest." Dohyun nodded and closed his eyes. Good. The boy was safe. That was all that mattered. "You are a strange creature," Lyra said softly. He opened one eye to look at her. "Strange? You almost died for someone you did not know. You fought a beast that should have killed you in seconds. You refused weapons when any sane person would have taken them. And now, after waking up from a 2-day sleep, your first thought is about the person you saved." She shook her head slowly. "I have lived for 112 years. I have seen thousands of species. But I have never met anyone like you. Is that good or bad?" Lyra was quiet for a moment. She looked at her hands, folded in her lap. When she spoke again, her voice was different, softer, more vulnerable. "I do not know yet, but I want to find out." Dahyun studied her face. In the soft light of the medical bay, she looked different from when he had seen her in the cargo area. Less distant, less like an alien and more like a person. "Why are you here?" he asked. "You have your own work, your own life. Why spend 2 days watching a human sleep?" "I do not know," she admitted. "When I saw you fall in the arena, something happened. I felt something I've never felt before. Fear, real fear. Not for myself, but for you. And when I brought you here, I could not make myself leave. Every time I tried to go back to my quarters, I found myself walking back to this room instead." She finally looked up at him. Her purple eyes were filled with confusion and something else. Something that looked almost like pain. "What have you done to me, human? What is this feeling?" Dahyun wanted to answer, but he did not have the words. He was not good at talking about feelings. He never had been. His father had taught him to fight, not to speak. The door to the medical bay opened, and they both looked up. An old Velthran walked in. It was Corum, the arena master. He looked as tired as Lyra, but there was a smile on his gray face. "The hero awakens," Corum said. "Good. I was worried I would have to come back again." "Again?" Do-yoon asked. "I have visited 3 times. You were sleeping each time. I wanted to be here when you woke up. Why?" Corum walked to the side of the bed and looked down at him with respect in his old eyes. "Because in 60 years of running that arena, I have never seen anything like what you did. You did not just win, human. You showed everyone that strength is not about size or claws or weapons. You showed them that the most dangerous thing in the universe is a creature that refuses to give up." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small metal badge. It was circular, with strange symbols carved into its surface. "This is the Arena Victor's Mark. It is given to fighters who achieve something extraordinary. Only 12 beings have received it in the last 100 years. You are the 13th, and the first human." Do-hyun took the badge. It was heavier than it looked. "I did not fight for a badge. I know. That is why you deserve it." Corum patted his shoulder gently. "Rest well, human. You have earned it. And if you ever want to fight in my arena again, you will always have a place there." He turned and walked toward the door, but stopped before leaving. "One more thing. The merchant Draven. He has been asking about you. Be careful. Be careful. He's not a good person, and he does not like to be made a fool of." The door closed, and Do-yoon was alone with Lyra again. "He's right," Lyra said quietly. "About Draven. He's one of the most powerful merchants in this sector. He owns ships, businesses, people. What you did in the arena embarrassed him in front of everyone. He will not forget that. I am not afraid of him. You should be. He has destroyed people for less." Do-hyun looked at the badge in his hand. He thought about his father, about the lessons he had learned growing up. Never start a fight, but always finish one. Never let fear control you. And never, ever stop being who you are just because someone wants you to. "I did not come to this station to make enemies," he said. "But I did not come here to be a coward either. If Draven wants to come after me, he can try. I will not run away." Lyra sighed. "You are impossible, so I've been told." A small smile crossed her face. It was the first time he had seen her smile. It changed her entire appearance, made her look younger, warmer, almost human in a strange way. "Hungry?" she asked. "Very. I will get you something to eat. The medical food here is terrible, but I know a place that makes real meals. Stay here. Do not try to move too much." She stood up and walked toward the door. But before she left, she turned back to look at him. Do-hyun. It was the first time she had said his name. It sounded different when she said it. Softer, like she was tasting it and finding it pleasant. "Yes? I am glad you did not die." Then she was gone, and Do-hyun was alone. He lay back against the pillow and stared at the ceiling. His body still hurt, but the pain was fading. The healing patches were doing their work. In a few more days, he would be able to move normally again. But something else was bothering him. Something that had nothing to do with wounds or battles or enemies, Lyra. He could not stop thinking about her. The way she had looked at him when he woke up. The way she had stayed by his bed for 2 days. The way her smile had made his chest feel tight in a way that had nothing to do with his injuries. He had come to this station to work, to save money, to buy a ship and make a life for himself among the stars. He had not come here to make connections. He had not come here to care about anyone. But somewhere along the way, things had changed. The door opened again, and Lyra returned with a tray of food. The smell hit him immediately. Meat and vegetables and something sweet. His stomach growled loudly. "I heard that," she said with another small smile. "Here, eat slowly. Your body is still recovering." She sat back down in the chair beside his bed and watched him eat. It should have felt strange, having someone watch him so closely. But it did not feel strange at all. It felt natural, comfortable, like they had been doing this for years instead of days. "Tell me about your home," she said. "About Earth." Do-hyun paused between bites. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. What does it look like? What is it like to live there? Why did you leave?" He thought about it for a moment. Earth felt so far away now, like a dream he once had and could barely remember. "It is a beautiful world," he said finally. "Blue oceans, green forests, mountains that touch the clouds. When I was young, my father took me to the top of a mountain near our home. We watched the sunrise, and he told me that the universe was full of wonders, but none of them were more beautiful than where we were at that moment." "Then why did you leave?" "Because he also taught me that the only way to truly understand beauty is to see as much of it as possible, to travel, to explore, to meet new people and learn new things." He looked at her. "He died when I was 20. After that, there was nothing keeping me on Earth, so I came to the stars." Lyra was quiet. She could see the pain in his eyes when he spoke about his father. It was an old pain, one that had healed but left a scar. She understood that kind of pain. She had felt it herself when her own parents had passed away decades ago. "He taught you to fight," she said. "Did he teach you anything else?" "He taught me everything. How to fight, how to think, how to treat people with respect, how to stand up for what is right, even when it is hard." Do-hyun smiled softly. He was not perfect. No parent is. But he was the best man I ever knew. Everything I am, I owe to him. Lyra reached out and touched his hand. The contact was electric. Neither of them moved for a long moment. "He would be proud of you," she said softly, "for what you did in the arena. For who you are, I hope so." They sat in silence, her hand still touching his. Outside the medical bay, the station continued its endless noise. Ships came and went. Aliens argued and bargained and lived their lives. The universe spun on, indifferent to the small moments happening in one small room. But in that room, something was growing. Something neither of them fully understood yet. A connection that had been formed in blood and fire and was now being nurtured in quiet moments and gentle touches. Do-hyun did not know what would happen next. He did not know if Draven would come after him. He did not know if he would. 1 week passed. Do-hyun's wounds healed faster than anyone expected. The Velthrin doctors said it was unusual. Most species took twice as long to recover from such injuries. But humans, they discovered, had something special. Their bodies wanted to heal. Their cells worked overtime to repair damage. It was one of the few advantages their species had in a galaxy full of stronger, faster, and more dangerous creatures. On the 7th day, Do-hyun left the medical bay and returned to work. Torvax, his Velthrin supervisor, was surprised to see him. Most workers who went through what Do-hyun had experienced would have taken months off. Some would have left the station entirely. But here was the human, showing up for his shift like nothing had happened. "You are back," Torvax said. For the first time, there was no mockery in his voice. Just confusion. "I need the credits." "You could have taken the prize money. The arena offers a reward to victors. Especially victors who achieve what you achieved." Do-hyun picked up a crate and began moving it to the transport platform. "I did not fight for money. Then why did you fight?" He paused and looked at his supervisor. "Because it was the right thing to do." Torvax did not understand. He was not sure he ever would. But he did not bother Do-hyun for the rest of the shift. In fact, he gave him the lighter assignments. It was not much, but it was a sign of respect. And on this station, respect was not given easily. Word of Doi's fight had spread across the station. Wherever he went, aliens stopped to look at him. Some pointed and whispered. Others nodded in acknowledgement. A few even approached him to shake his hand or touch his shoulder, like he was some kind of lucky charm. He did not enjoy the attention. He had never wanted to be famous. All he wanted was to do his work, save his credits, and someday buy his ship. But the galaxy had other plans. Lyra visited him every day during his breaks. They would sit in a quiet corner of the cargo bay, eating meals she brought from the restaurant she had mentioned. They talked about everything and nothing. About Earth and Velthra. About family and dreams. About the stars that stretched endlessly beyond the station walls. Each day, Dohyun found himself looking forward to those moments more than anything else. And each day, the strange feeling in his chest grew stronger. He was not stupid. He knew what the feeling was. He had felt it once before, years ago, with a girl back on Earth. But that had been different. That had been young and foolish, and had ended badly. This felt different, deeper, more real, but he did not know what to do about it. He was human. She was Velthran. Their species were so different. Their lifespans were so different. She would live for centuries. He would be lucky to see 90. What kind of future could they have together? These thoughts kept him awake at night, staring at the ceiling of his small quarters. On the 10th day after the fight, Draven made his move. Dohyun was walking back to his quarters after a long shift when 4 Korath guards stepped out of the shadows. They surrounded him, blocking every escape route. Their golden scales gleamed under the station lights, and their claws were extended. "Human," one of them said, "our master wishes to speak with you, and if I refuse, that is not an option." Dohyun looked at the guards. He could probably fight his way past 1 or 2 of them, but 4 was too many, especially in his current condition. His wounds had healed, but his strength had not fully returned. "Fine," he said. "Lead the way." They took him to the upper levels of the station, where the wealthy merchants lived. The hallways here were clean and bright, nothing like the dark, dirty corridors of the lower levels. Everything screamed of money and power. Draven's quarters were more like a palace than a room. Gold and jewels covered every surface. Expensive art hung on the walls. Servants moved silently in the background, ready to fulfill every wish of their master. Draven himself sat in a massive chair that looked more like a throne. His golden scales were polished until they shone, and his scarred face was twisted into a smile that held no warmth. "The famous human," Draven said. "Thank you for accepting my invitation. I was not given much choice. True, but I prefer to call it strong encouragement." He gestured to a chair across from him. "Please, sit. We have much to discuss." Dohyun remained standing. "What do you want?" Draven's smile faded slightly. He was not used to being defied. "You embarrassed me in the arena, in front of hundreds of witnesses. Do you understand what that means? It means you should pick your fights more carefully." The Korath merchant's eyes narrowed. "You have courage. I will give you that. But courage without power is worthless in this galaxy. I could have you killed right now, and no one would lift a finger to stop me. Then why haven't you?" "Because you have value." Draven leaned forward in his chair. "I have watched the recording of your fight many times. Your skills are remarkable, wasted on cargo work. I have a proposition for you. I am not interested. You have not heard it yet. I do not need to. I know what people like you want. You want to own me, use me, turn me into a weapon for your profit. I am not for sale." Draven's face darkened. "Everyone is for sale. Everyone has a price. Not me." The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Draven's guards shifted nervously. waiting for their master's command. But the command did not come. Instead, Draven laughed. It was a cold, bitter sound. You are either very brave or very foolish. My father always said those are the same thing. For a long moment, Draven just stared at him. Then he waved his hand dismissively. Get out. But know this, human. You have made an enemy today. And I do not forget my enemies. The guards escorted Do-yoon out of the quarters and back to the lower levels. When they were gone, he leaned against the wall and let out a breath he had been holding. That had been close. Draven could have killed him easily. But he had not. Why? The answer came to him slowly. Draven was a businessman. He did not destroy things that could be useful. He was waiting, watching, looking for an opportunity to turn Do-yoon into a tool instead of an obstacle. He would have to be careful. When he reached his quarters, Lyra was waiting outside the door. Her purple eyes were wide with worry. I heard what happened. Are you all right? I am fine. Dohan, this is serious. Draven is dangerous. You need to leave the station. He opened his door and stepped inside. His quarters were small and simple. A bed, a table, a chair. Nothing else. He had never needed more. I am not running away, he said. Lyra followed him inside, closing the door behind her. This is not about running away. This is about surviving. Draven will not stop until he gets what he wants. Then let him try. Why are you like this? She grabbed his arm and turned him to face her. Why do you refuse to protect yourself? Why do you always have to be so? So what? She searched for the word. Human. He looked at her, really looked at her. At her silver skin and purple eyes. At the way she stood close to him, close enough that he could feel the warmth of her body. At the worry in her face that was not just worry. It was something more. Do you know why I did not take the prize money? He asked softly. She shook her head. Because I did not fight for a reward. I fought because a child was going to die, and I could not stand by and watch it happen. That is who I am. That is who my father raised me to be. I do not know how to be anything else. Lyra's grip on his arm loosened. Her eyes filled with something that looked like tears. Though Velthrons were not supposed to cry. You are impossible, she whispered. So you keep telling me. She stepped closer, closing the distance between them until there was no space left. I've never met anyone like you. You make me feel things I do not understand. You make me want things I have never wanted before. What things? I do not know yet. She reached up and touched his face with her silver fingers. The contact was soft, gentle. But I want to find out. If you will let me. Do-yoon's heart was pounding. This was not what he had planned. This was not what he had expected. But standing there, looking into her purple eyes, he realized that some things in life could not be planned. Some things just happened. I am human, he said. I will grow old. I will die long before you. I know. We are different species. The galaxy will not understand. I know. This could end badly. I know. She smiled, and it was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. But I would rather have something real that ends badly than have nothing at all. Life is too short for regrets. Even a life as long as mine. She leaned in and pressed her forehead against his. It was a Velthron gesture, he knew. A sign of deep connection, of trust, of something that might become love. So what do we do now? He asked. We live, she said simply. Day by day, moment by moment. We face whatever comes together, and we see where this path takes us. Outside, the station continued its endless motion. Ships arrived and departed. Aliens lived their lives. The universe spun on, full of wonders and dangers and possibilities. But inside that small room, Two beings from different worlds stood together, holding on to something new, something fragile, something worth fighting for. Dohyun had come to the stars looking for freedom and adventure. He had found something else instead. Something he had not known he was missing. He had found someone who saw him, really saw him. Not as a weak human, not as a curiosity, but as something more. Something worth staying beside. And in the end, that was worth more than any ship. That was worth more than anything.